Game On is presented by Mike Piazza Honda of Langhorne.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Game On, our final edition of the football season. I'm your host, Mark Zamaro, and with me are Tom Rimback, Kevin Kaloje, and John Lewis.
Almost forgot who you were.
Almost skipped that part. It's late in the season.
Yeah.
All right, we have two teams left, both playing for state championships. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about first the Group 1 Central Championship, Palmyra and Shore. Guys, what are you expecting to see this game?
What's interesting about this game, every coach ever in every pregame interview has said some form of, well, I don't want to see this turn into a shootout. I talked to Jack Geisley yesterday. He says, well, we have faith in our offense. We're going to play up tempo. We're going to hope our defense can get a turnover or two, make a stop or two. He wants this to be a shootout. And that's the game Palmyra can win. That's what it's going to have to be if they're going to win it.
Well, to me, if it's going to be a shootout, you need Elijah Carnjay to come up with a big game. He's been their leading rusher all year long. He's right at 1,000 yards coming up. If he has a couple of big runs, I think that really opens things up because the Palmyra passing game is exceptional. Carnjay brings a little bit of running to the mix too. Might tie Shore up a little bit defensively.
Yeah, overall on paper it looks like Shore might be the better team overall, but I don't think there's many teams in the state who can match up with Palmyra's skill positions. Calvin Harmon, Taj Harris, like you said, Carnjay, they're all going to have great games. I think it's going to come down to the line play. Guys like Noah Stevenson are going to have to step up. David Lynch on the defensive line, even Kelvin Harmon on the defensive line is going to have to make some tackles. Also, I think they're going to have to keep their heads. This is a team that gets a little flustered. There's a good chance they're going to be down at some point. We'll see how they come back. A couple weeks ago, they came back from a 20-point deficit. See if they can do it again.
That's one thing they can't be down. I mean, if they fall behind in this game, they're playing a team that will be happy to run between the tackles for 4 yards 20 times in a row. That's what they do. That's what they want to do. You fall behind this team, you get 2 scores down. It's basketball season.
All right, let's jump to the big schools. We have a rematch of all rematches. 4th year in a row these teams are going to meet in the playoffs, and it's Timber Creek and Shawnee. What's got to go right for Shawnee?
Well, people remember Shawnee's won the last 2 state title games, but they also played in the semifinals in all these guys' freshman year. And a couple of guys, David Gatorovich, one of the best defensive linemen around. We talked to him this week. Great kid. He's got 15.5 sacks. I think if he can disrupt on the defensive line, that's going to be a big plus for the Shawnee offense.
Yeah, I mean, the past 2 years it's been a little bit more, it's really been a good game both years. I'm expecting that again this year. I think this year, 2 years ago, it seemed like Timber Creek was more the favorite. Last year, it seemed like Shawnee was more the favorite. This year, I feel like it's a complete toss-up. It's just going to be whoever plays better that day. Michael Welsh, look for him to have a big game. Mike Givens, Anthony Magoo. I think Shawnee can do it again. Let's see if they can get the three-peat.
Well, I don't think it's a toss-up. I think Shawnee looks like the better team. I'm sorry. I think the big thing to look for early in the game, Mike Givens, if he can run the ball, if they can bring those safeties forward a little bit, they're going to have success throwing the ball. The thing that jumps out at me when I look at Timber Creek stats, they played 11 games. They have 10 sacks. You let Michael Welsh stand back there all day and throw the ball, you're in for a very long night.
Well, I think Welsh has to do 2 things. I think he has to run the ball a little bit because that'll open things up for Githens and for himself on the passing game. If he breaks a run or 2, he presents such a huge challenge to a defense. Timber Creek's in trouble if Michael Welsh really has a big 2-way game.
And they're really in trouble if he throws another touchdown pass to himself, how he did in that Cherokee game.
Yeah.
All right, we are really looking forward to both these games. We will see what happens. Okay, it's time to make our picks, and obviously we know what games we're picking this week. First game, Saturday's game, Palmyra versus Shore. Who do you like?
Well, Palmyra's got a shot here. I don't think it's a great shot, though. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Shore, but I got my hopes that Elijah Carnjay is going to have a huge day and turn the tables.
Yeah, I'm picking Palmyra. I'm staying strong, you know. I think they're just so talented in skill positions. I think they got it.
Staying strong?
I just think Shore has too much offense. I think Palmyra's got a great offense, but they're not going to get it on the field enough. I like Shore.
Yeah, I think Shore has the better team, although just a great season for Palmyra. They should be congratulated for that, but let's see. You never know. You never know. All right, second game, Shawnee and Timber Creek. John? I
think it's a bad matchup for Timber Creek. They're not built to grind it out. Their offense, they can't keep Shawnee's defense on the field enough. That means they can't keep their offense off the field. That means Shawnee's going to score some points. I like Shawnee.
Mike Welsh is going to win his 3rd straight state championship as a quarterback under center. Going to go down as one of the best players in Shawnee history.
Well, the best thing for Shawnee is they're playing this game Sunday. That gives Shawnee a couple extra days. They played on Thanksgiving morning. A couple extra days for Coach Gushu, and that's too much to overcome for Timber Creek, I think.
I agree. I think Shawnee has one of the best coaching staffs, not only in the county, maybe in the state. And I think that they get it done yet again. Okay, let's take a look at the big board. And it's the last opportunity to climb the standings, and what beautiful standings they are. John and I both went 3-1 last week, and I have a 2-game lead with a 36-12 record. Tom also went 3-1 last week, and is now tied with Kevin at 27-21 on the season. Those guys are so far back, though, they're mathematically eliminated from next year's competition. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, it's time to nominate our Athletes of the Week, but first let's congratulate last week's winner, Noah Davis of Pemberton. 49% of the 1,888 total votes. He had everybody voting for him last week.
That was my guy last week.
Oh, all right.
That was my guy last week.
Yeah, I think it was John's guy. But you might have voted for him just like everybody else did. All right, who do you guys nominate this week?
Well, one of my favorite stories of the year, senior quarterback at Rancocas Valley, Ricky Jones. He was the starter at the beginning of the year, lost his job to a freshman, but kept in the game. He came back on Thanksgiving. He ran for 98 yards, passed for 81 more, was part of 3 touchdowns and a 48-21 come-from-behind win for RV. Great job, Ricky Davis. Great kid.
Yeah, I saw Northern Burlington. They actually lost by 2 points to Pemberton. Pemberton is a pretty good team, and there's no way they would have been in that game without running back David Flagger. He had 31 rushing yards, 58 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's my nomination for Player of the Week.
Mine goes to Davon Williams, Florence wingback, 7 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had an interception also. He's been really consistent all year. I mean, Joey Fogo puts up big numbers. Davon Williams has been a consistent player. He's done really well. He's my guy.
He's all-county wingback?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm giving the offensive line some love. I went to Cherokee, caught the beginning of that game, and saw Mike Kringler of Cherokee, center. We talked to him earlier this year. Recovered 2 fumbles in that game. That's an offensive lineman's dream. Cherokee wins the game 14-12 over Seneca on Thanksgiving. Gotta love that. All right, now that you've heard our nominations, make sure to go to our website and cast your vote for the overall Athlete of the Week. This is our final week to do it, so let your voice be heard. And that's it for our show, and that's it for our season this year. But we'll be back in January with basketball and wrestling shows, so make sure to look for that. Make sure to get out to the games this weekend, support your teams. We'll see you next time.